Yo, 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 what is up, everyone? Alex here, and we are on episode number 10. Super excited about this one. We're going to be talking about the good old-fashioned handshake, the importance of the good old-fashioned handshake with our guest, Don Chapin III. Stick around, you don't want to miss this. You're tuned in to the Connection Podcast. We are a team of content creators and digital marketers connecting you each week to successful entrepreneurs and marketing experts that provide informational, inspirational, and motivational success stories in the world of digital marketing. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thank you for tuning in on iTunes and YouTube and Spotify. My guest today, sitting right across from me, is the third generation of his company business. Did I say that right?
Family business, yeah.
Family
absolutely.
business. I'm here today with D3, Don Chapin III. Thank you so much for being here and on our show.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on your show.
Oh, this is awesome. D3, in September of 2016, you gave me an amazing opportunity to have a meeting with you and your dad and earn the right to do some business together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you've been doing some amazing things, and we wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of rebrand us and take it to see what you can do with our brand.
Oh, it's been really amazing, and again, I've been super honored to do that. D3, tell me a little bit about, and again, for the guests listening, by the end of this show, they're gonna be leaving this talk. They're gonna be inspired at the end of this episode with, again, just a good old-fashioned handshake for business. You know, a lot of our listeners are really about digital marketing and wanting to know, what are the best Facebook tips and Instagram tips and whatnot and Google tips. We had some guests that email in and say, give us some good SEO tips and things like that. But that's still super important. That good old-fashioned handshake. I can see that the Don Chapin Company has built a really nice business, probably from rooting from that, right?
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more about the Don Chapin Company and where it started. And
so to go way far back, we'd have to go back to my grandfather. And in the, I believe it was the late 50s, 60s, he had a company, he had a partner with Mr. Clark, and it was called Chapin & Clark. And that's all they did was septic tanks. So they'd go around, and the majority of the septic tanks in this area were probably put in by my grandfather and Mr. Clark. So what an amazing man he was. I mean, really the patriarch of our family, really instilled a lot of those values that we have today in my dad, my aunts, and a lot of me and my cousins, my sister. My goodness. I mean, just every day we are so blessed to have had him in our lives, and really instill the core values of who we are as a family. So he and my father joined together in 1978 and created the Don Chapin Company. And it was a little bit of septic and some of the work that my dad was doing. They kind of combined it, and everything kind of grew from there.
The Don Chapin Company has grown to now have a septic construction company and also the site services, Tom Site Services and whatnot. So you guys do a little bit more than just construction and concrete and all
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
We do a little bit of everything. And septic has always been a mainstay in our company. It's always been one of the focal points from day one. And that was definitely a lot of influence from my grandfather. And, he really had really kind of made our plowed the path for us and what we're doing today. So it's pretty amazing. You go around town and there's always a story. I hear it all the time. Oh, your grandfather, he put in my septic tank, awesome. 60 years ago or whatever it is. And it's pretty amazing, that lineage has been there, and his fingerprints are still all over this county. So it's pretty amazing.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, D3. Tell me a little bit about you've been doing construction your whole life.
Yeah, well, it seems like it that way. Yes, born and raised here in Salinas. It's always been what I've grown up around. Watching my father grow our business into what it is today has been pretty special. Because I remember back when I was up just to knee height and running around and terrorizing everybody, I'm sure, in our office. I'm sure there's plenty of those stories. But, just growing up around a lot of the equipment, all those trucks, and it just, was such a passion It's kind of funny. I look at some of the pictures of me as a kid, playing with the little toy tractors underneath my dad's desk, and just trying to just play and imagine those things working, and it was just always a passion.
At what age did your dad put you behind the wheel of an excavator? Or
I don't remember when the first time I ever got a chance. It was pretty young. Because it has just always been such a natural thing. He'd let me, he'd give me the keys and say, "Hey, go move this this backhoe over here." And so I'd always jump at the chance. Every time I got a chance to drive something new, it was one heck of an experience. So he was always willing to give us that chance to learn and to get a little time behind the wheel and behind some of the controls. So it's pretty awesome.
I always giggle when we're together and I see you jump into a big old huge, whether it be a septic cleaner or the tank cleaner, a collector, I guess it would be, right?
Yeah.
Or I see you in the big ready mix truck, and whatever it is, you're confident, you jump right in there, you start that thing up, and I'm like, I would never. I'm a little scared driving in my truck, let alone one of those big old things. You got the experience.
That gives you a little bit of, what all of our drivers do every day.
Yeah.
They have a lot of confidence, and those trucks are not the easiest thing to drive every day.
Right.
And, you have a lot of responsibility behind one of those 18-wheelers. So it's, it's pretty awesome, though. It's fun.
For some of our listeners, I want to just get some of your insights on the transition of marketing and through the years, because those listening are they're interested in those marketing stories, and how a company like yours and we talked about it off camera, how when it started, there wasn't computers, there wasn't you're growing a business by, again, that good old fashioned handshake.
Absolutely.
Getting out there, you do good work in one location, referral leads you to the next one, or maybe you got to go out there and say, hey, we know that there's a need for you our services can do the job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was always between, again, my grandfather, my father. Your handshake is a bond that, it's you're as good as your handshake is, right. Really.
Yeah.
And, that was the way the construction world has always been for ages. A good old fashioned handshake. You shake my hand, we're going to do the deal. Mm-hmm. So we do it, you pay the bill, and we move on. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is standing behind your product. Yep. You install something, you put something in place, stand behind it.
Mm-hmm.
That do quality construction, and you won't ever have to worry about it.
Yep.
You don't do it cheap, do it good, and do it honest. And that's what the handshake was all about, really. And it's amazing how that it's still in place,
yep.
Even though the world today is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a contract back then was a single piece of paper with a couple of names and a total.
Yeah.
And now today, I mean, you look at some of the contracts that come in, and I mean, they're
Mountains,
literally
books.
A mountain of paper.
Yeah.
It takes you a week to read through and make sure that
Yep.
all the details are done. So it's pretty amazing the way the world has shifted in that regard. There's a lot of liability pieces to it, but the handshake is still there.
Yeah.
That is definitely not done. You just need to follow it up with some paperwork.
Yep.
But yeah, there's still a lot of handshakes that go on, a lot of deals done that way, and you stand behind what you say.
Through school, is this you went off, grew up, D3 grew up, went to college, came back to the family business.
Absolutely.
And was being in construction part of the plan the whole time, or being part of being marketing?
Again, growing up into the construction world, I always wanted to follow in those footsteps. I didn't know exactly what path I wanted to lead, whether it was engineering or construction. Did I want to run equipment? Did I want to try and eventually take over for my dad one of these days? Is trying to figure out which path. And I ended up going to Fresno State, Bulldogs, and went into the civil engineering program. And I really enjoyed it. It was a challenge. My sister went to Texas A&M, is also a civil engineer. So it kind of runs in the family a little bit.
Yep.
And, she is such a bright girl. And, so it was definitely an education trying to follow, and, the path that she had led either too, so it was fun.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. I got out of school in 2004 and came right back to work, went to our engineering company,
Mm-hmm.
became a licensed civil engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came over to the construction side of the world and started doing estimating and kind of understanding what our projects are doing, understanding a little bit of the material side, and really kind of recently have kind of delved into the marketing aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you've also have felt those that shift from traditional to where we're at
Absolutely.
in this digital. Before we continue, we have a little treat here.
This should be exciting. Oh, yeah.
In 1978, my dad and I started the Don Chapin Company. For over 25 years, we've built a reputation we can be proud of. That reputation means something, whether you're a homeowner who needs a driveway or a contractor looking for a general engineering firm. We've worked on everything, you name it. Highways, pipelines, earthwork, paving, a local company that cares. That's what I'd want. When you see the Chapin logo on the side of that truck, you know you're getting quality work.
That's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. That spot was done nearly 20 years ago by a amazing company here, a marketing company that was here in town, who you guys used to be teamed up with, and it really is a powerful message. And this TV spot, though nearly 20 years old, could still be really relevant. The message is really relevant.
The message is exactly the same,
because
it's all about that reputation. It's all about quality and making sure that, when you hire us, you know that you're going to get quality. You might not be the cheapest guy around on the block, but you know what? You're not going to have to worry about that project after we get done, because it is done right and it's done with quality and care. So, when you do see those blue and white trucks, that's what we want you to think, is that, we got, that's going to be some quality construction.
I love it.
Yeah.
The logo's changed a little bit.
The logo has changed a little bit.
Changed a little bit, but it looks good. It looks good.
Again, adapting to the new marketing world and just the way the world right there. But but the same guts of that logo have still stayed the same. The image of the logo, it's still exactly the same when I was just a little boy.
The font and the text.
Absolutely, the font and the text.
Yep. I hear you. And shifting to today's world, where in marketing, where a lot of this commercial could be playing online. I guess I want you to share with us and to our listeners how that's still important for you guys to be out there. Again, this is about the good old-fashioned handshake, but many people would believe indoor. We may have a tow truck company. Maybe again, a lot of their stuff is a phone call away, or who are they going to Google the quickest when you're broken down on the side of the road, or but you would think, oh, we're not so important to be on social media, or it's not so important, but it is.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. Marketing is all about, getting that name recognition out there. It's about, thinking, oh boy, I have a big pothole in my driveway. Who do I call? We want it to be the first person you think of is the Don Chapin Company.
Right. And
this way we can kind of ingrain everybody into thinking, whatever your need is, call us. And if we don't do it, we can find somebody that can. If it's a home repair, we can definitely make a recommendation. What we do is grading, paving, underground utilities, septic, sewer work, water works, concrete. We produce concrete. We produce aggregates. We do a little bit of everything.
Can you share a little bit about, let me just read the question. Can you talk a little bit about the shift from traditional marketing to digital marketing and how it's been important to the company, to the Don Chapin Company?
Yeah. We used to do solely traditional, and traditional meaning big TV, big spots on the radio or in newspaper, or even the yellow pages. But when was the last time you saw a yellow page book? It's
all gone.
They're all gone, right? even yellow pages is going online. So it's it's everything's changing.
Yep.
And so even though the TV is still such a popular thing, newspaper is almost obsolete. Everything again is online. You can't get a newspaper almost delivered anymore to your doorstep. So even though that traditional marketing is still very important as far as getting a TV spot, during prime time, it is expensive. But we've had to transition, just like the rest of all of these marketing companies, to online.
Yep.
And that's really where the majority of everybody is looking for, a service provider of some sort, whether it's a driveway or concrete, septic tank pumping, any repairs that they might need. Where's the first thing people look at? Their cell phone. They pick up their cell phone and they Google it.
Yep.
And we need to be that first person they find.
Right.
And that's what that social media, that digital marketing world really is all about, is being that found item. That's the one you want to be able to call.
That's perfect.
And it's kind of crazy the way, again, the shift, because social media and marketing online is so dynamic, and you can really create anything you really want.
Right.
And being able to take what your company's all about, and the reputation and the feel and the look and feel of who your company actually is, that persona of the company, and really kind of translate it into some sort of digital format,
to a story
of some sort. And that's really been a challenge in doing that. And I think every business owner probably has that challenge ahead of them, by transitioning from traditional to the digital marketing world.
Especially if you've been in business for 30 years or plus.
40 years.
40 years.
40 years. 41 this year.
Feeling that transition it was print, radio, TV.
Yeah.
Print. How much are we really going to spend? Do we want to save a little and go print? Do we want to spend a lot and go TV?
Absolutely.
We want to be in the middle. How many ears are going to listen to our message?
Yeah.
And now costs are kind of coming down. You could still spend the same, but you could just, the world is endless online.
Absolutely. But there's still a little bit of a niche for some of that traditional marketing.
Yep.
And so you kind of got a balance there, because it's not a complete shift. There's still a couple of generations that are not into the tech world, and they don't want to be. They avoid cell phones like the plague. But as that younger generation transitions into home ownership and being the people that are paying for the bills and needing those services, or recommending it to their parents or grandparents needing that service, that's where a lot of people are leaning towards. And that's why I think there's such a dynamic shift from traditional to that digital world, is because it's becoming more and more relevant. The small niche of folks that are out of the mainstay, up in the hills, they don't really, they're not on social media at all. There's a slight niche still there, but again, that's going away. That's going away quickly.
Very,
Because
very.
internet providers are getting a little bit more creative on how you can get internet to some of these rural locations.
Right.
There's a ton of stuff going on. So where you get dial up and only.
Are you guys? Does the Don Chapin Company do dabble and help those utility companies in laying line or anything like that?
So we typically don't do much of the dry utilities. We usually do all the wet stuff, the water, the sewer,
Gotcha.
Those items. But the dry utilities, we can put them in, but we don't pull any of the lines. We'll usually just put it in the pipeline.
Gotcha.
And they can pull all the cables.
Gotcha. Off topic. Sorry,
it's okay.
Sorry, off topic there. But you said internet and the speeds hitting these rural, locations. It's like, wow, we can't wait for fiber optic down here.
But again, you're seeing the transition in technology from needing a fiber optic line buried in the ground to doing it wirelessly.
Right.
There are so many locations that you can do an air fiber from one spot to the next. Wow. So, I mean, it's again, that just like we watch the traditional marketing fade into digital marketing, that technology is really changing from something that needs infrastructure to doing it wirelessly. Look at the cell phone technology that has changed over 20 years.
G5 and G6 is already being talked about.
Oh, well, absolutely. But think about all the kids that you give them a rotary phone and tell them to dial.
Oh, right.
They
I wish we could pull up a video real quickly. We won't. But
absolutely amazing.
Have you seen some of those? Oh my gosh, I laugh at those. I feel blessed that I'm old enough to have experienced that and to know. Just old enough.
That's
right? Just old enough.
I feel bad for my kids that are going to grow up and not know any of that.
I know you got a couple little ones, but my 19-month-old daughter. I mean, she is an expert on that iPhone.
It's
and
unbelievable.
And we tried.
It's so natural.
Yeah, it is natural.
You know, watching a 1.5 or a 3-year-old pick up a cell phone or a tablet and know what to do. It's unbelievable how they pick it up and adapt. So she picks
it up and calls grandma. She knows how to call grandma.
That's amazing.
My wife has her in the emergency dial, so she doesn't need the password or the thumbprint to get in. And she dials out. She dials grandma through the emergency contact that the iPhone allows.
That's pretty amazing.
And FaceTimes grandma.
So hey, I'm looking forward to these kids growing up and teaching me new things. Absolutely.
I hear you.
But that's just the wave of the world.
Right.
I try and keep up on some of that technology and keeping us in the new.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is another reason why we decided to kind of shift with our marketing aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And shift into something different.
Mm-hmm.
We can't hurt to change it up a little bit.
Yep.
And that's the reason why we decided to go with Mag 1.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
That little plug there. And that brings me on to my next question here. The Don Chapin Company is a very, from what I can see, a very community-minded business, right?
Absolutely.
And again, that all marketing, all traditional and digital marketing aside, there's still that footwork being a part of the community, something that, again, Mag 1 Media and myself is learning right now, that, there's some opportunities that are out there that are, bigger than yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time, offer wonderful networking opportunities. Yeah, would you say?
Absolutely.
Am I saying that in the right direction? I actually have a story here about the first time I think I met your dad. Like I said, I know that we started interacting around a Growing Future Leaders later on, but about 2008-ish, and when I was brought on to not growing, building future leaders. Was in the room at the event and cross paths with your dad, Mr. Chapin. Gave me a nice firm handshake, and again introduced myself. I'm Alex, and from that day on, all the way to present time, he's always been respectful of his time, I guess is the best way to say. He's always remembered who I am, always stops to shake my hand, always just a really phenomenal man, in my opinion, and I think really highly of him, and just that moment that he takes out of his busy time, whether it's at an event or whether it's out in not too long ago, about a month ago, and again, I haven't seen him since I think that day, but I happened to stop by a city council meeting. I mean, he was walking out the door, I was walking in, and I know he was probably in a rush to go somewhere and stopped and took 2 minutes to talk to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that speaks a lot for, again, being involved with this community, who's around him, but everybody from me to everybody just seems to be on a level playing field. It's all equal.
Oh, yeah. Well, my dad is such a special individual. Anybody who knows him can speak volumes to this. He is so dynamic in the person he is. Always knows who you are, knows your kids, knows your wife. And yes, it doesn't matter who you are, we'll absolutely stop and give you the time of day. It doesn't matter what's going on. And it's just absolutely a great mentor for anyone to follow, mm-hmm. anybody. And boy, you should try and follow in his footsteps. It's very challenging.
I wonder, as I've become closer with you guys, I always wonder, I question you, but how does he have the time to be involved with this board and that board and gives his time and volunteers his time to Rancho Cielo and whatever it may be that's out there for the kids, and again, Boy Scouts, and where does he find the time on top of running Good question. He's got a lot of great people behind him, we know, and yourself being involved with the company, but gosh, he is everywhere, and he makes time for everyone, and it's really amazing. And now I see you're following in his footsteps. I mean, everywhere I turn, you're at that event or you're involved and you're giving of your time. And back to the handshake is super important. You guys are shaking hands with this community that I know that they're so gracious of. I think that's the word.
Yeah. Well, my dad, it's pretty amazing what he gets done during the day, and just being able to, again, look at that leadership. He's so involved in so many projects and nonprofits, and he sits on 2 elected boards for North County Fire and Lagunitas School District. He's been on Lagunitas for, gosh, I don't know, 30-something years, I think.
Wow.
Pretty amazing. And he just, he makes things happen, and he does not get bogged down in the weeds about things. He just makes things happen and moves on. So it's about acting now, being present, getting whatever you need done, and move on. And because he's got a lot of things to do. So he definitely they people call him from the community when they need things done. And he makes things happen. But that really started, not to say that my dad didn't really take it to the next level, but it really started with my grandfather.
Oh, that's awesome.
I remember my dad tells me the story all the time about my grandfather back in 1989 when the earthquake came in Loma Prieta, devastated Watsonville. Absolutely just annihilated so many people's homes and downtown, and really my grandfather pretty much stopped what he was doing and donated all of his time. He kept, my dad tells me the story saying he'd come in, go up on top of the hill, load his truck full of equipment and materials and tools and whatever he needed, and just left and went to go and worked for countless people over in Watsonville where he lived, and never charged anybody a dime. I mean, it was truck after truck after truck. And my dad was, "What are you doing, Junior? Don't worry about it." And that was really who he was. He really instilled that, we are part of this community, whether you like it or not. This is where our home is. This is the area where our businesses has taken off. And, it's about giving back to the community, especially in a time of need. And that really resonates with my dad and myself, where, my dad really loves being a part of the community, because our community is really has backed us in business. And it's only fair that we give back, 2 times the amount, with time and effort and everything we can, really.
My wife can't quite put her finger on it, on why there's a few projects a few times a year that I just my work is work, and it should be considered work, and I get review, but there's a couple projects, and again, they're nonprofits on the other end, and I give my time. I give my time, I give my service. That's the way I can offer myself through my service. I've done it because it feels good. Mostly because my heart feels it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
I think if there's one company, I know this for a fact, and this is the truth. If there's one company that I wish that my company would grow to be like, it's definitely the Don Chapin Company, because
that's very nice. Thank you.
Because I really admire that story. If I've heard the earthquake story, just throughout the years, again, over 10 years ago when I met your dad, and just the way you guys are giving of your time, and that good old fashioned handshake. I think that's really important to me, my company, small but growing. And now you and I, conversate and hang out a little bit more, and I see how gracious you are with yours, and really I admire that, and I'd like to say we're going to try to model it just a little.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Actually, we don't have a camera on him right now, but Javon, sitting over here behind the scenes, one of the first things he did over a year ago when we came down, sat down, and had an interview was he's like, I really admire how you're giving of your time, and you're so connected with the community, and I really was my eyes kind of bubbled, and I said, I didn't really ever think of it that way, but he said, I like that that's what your company stands behind, or, is a part of, and I want to be a part of that,
Absolutely.
So I believe
and you stand behind what you say. You have told people that you're going to do this, and you do it. And that's, again, standing behind that word. It's that handshake,
right?
Even though it's community involvement, or if it's work, you do the same thing,
right?
If you tell somebody you're going to do it, do it.
Yep.
Give them a handshake, give them a firm commitment, and move on.
Yep. I dig that. Yeah. And that brings you to our next thing is now I understand that your dad's been a part of also the Airshow board.
Oh yeah.
For Oh, well, not at the moment, not at part of the air, but he was involved over 25 years ago.
Yes, actually, year 2, he was sponsoring the air show back. Boy, the air show started in 1981.
Oh, I was barely born in November.
I was born.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, right.
So year 2, my dad was asked to be a sponsor, and he said yes, absolutely. And not too long after that, he was asked to come out and just volunteer and be a part of it, and then slowly became asked to be a director, and really was on the board for 18 years. He served a term of 3 years as president, and he still stayed on and was sponsorship director for a number of years. And it's just an amazing array and show of what that community involvement was. It wasn't just here, let me give you a check. Yeah. It's that personal involvement and really setting a tone for how you do this type of stuff. And it was always fun for me because I grew up going to the air show. Yeah. And what an amazing opportunity to see, these pilots in action and the service members, and it's all about celebrating freedom, and it's celebrating that the United States being what it is, and all of those folks who fight for our freedom every day. What an amazing tribute to that and aviation in general. I mean, it's just absolutely just tremendous. And I've fallen in love with not only what the event stands for, but who's a part of it. Right. Because it's, again, a fabric of our community. It's so many community members rallying around. It wasn't until I really got involved to understand the grasp of the magnitude of how this community wraps itself around this event. We get, about 1,000 volunteers throughout the community. Wow. They come out and volunteer their time. Awesome. Some of them are making money for their groups, for nonprofits that they work for. But it's so many volunteers. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. Our entire board is volunteer driven. So it's amazing. And
for those listening that don't know D3, you are also the current president of the air show.
That's right. So right as my dad retired from the board, and it wasn't meant to be this way or not, but I became the facilities director there. And so it was kind of one Chapin was leaving and one Chapin joined the board. Nice. And, I really enjoyed it. It was a new challenge, taking on that responsibility of building the air show. The air show really starts off with absolutely nothing. It's just a bare bone sheet of asphalt and concrete. And really, you create a city and you have to build it in a very short amount of time. 5 days, really, you turn that thing around from being nothing to a full-blown air show, tents and chairs and tables and toilets and fencing and you name it, it's got to be brought in, and set up. So it was definitely a challenge, and it taught me a lot about being prepared and understanding the challenge in front of you and working together. Because again, it's all about doing this thing for a nonprofit, putting this event on, being a nonprofit, giving the money back to charity. And getting the community to be a part of it, getting some of those services donated instead of having to pay for them and not being able to pass that money on to the community. So being a part of that has really been an amazing thing. So this is actually my 3rd year as being president of the air show. Yeah, nice. And ever since I became, this is my 8th year on the board, ever since I became part of the board, my number one mission was to get the Blue Angels back into Salinas. Yeah. They were actually here in 1981. They were our very first show. And for many years, they would switch off between the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels. And 2009 was the last time they were here. And, so we really had to look and fight hard to get them back. They are, the rock stars of the industry. And the demand for California air shows and West Coast air shows just absolutely skyrocketed. So they decided to go to other markets, and it's all about, recruiting for the Navy and understanding what their purpose is. And we finally got them to come back, and after like a 10-year hiatus, they're going to grace the skies of Salinas once again. And the cool part, here's the really cool part, is that the Blue Angels actually land here in Salinas. Right. So whether you go up to Fleet Week every year and go check them out up there, because they're there every year, you'll never experience.
That's the one in San Francisco.
That's in San Francisco, absolutely. So you'll never experience the Blue Angels like you do here in Salinas, because they land right here. They're lined up right in front of the flight line. You actually get to see part of the show that a lot of others don't. They have an entire walk-up performance. Where all their ground crew, it's all synced in with music, and I mean, it's just absolutely moving. That you don't get to see anywhere else.
So Salinas, over the last 8 months, I can't do my math fast enough. 6 months. We've had the Thunderbirds.
We did have the Thunderbirds 6 months ago.
The vet, which is Air Force.
Yep.
We had in November the Veterans Day Parade. We had the Army Golden Knights parachute team. That's their kind of their Blue Angel ish, right?
Yeah.
And now we're fortunate to have the Blue Angels.
Absolutely.
What an amazing.
It's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
And you think about our central or our Salinas Valley here. What a dynamic place we have.
Yeah.
And being able to have the opportunity to have these performers come in and do this and showcase their skills and their talents to our community, it's pretty special.
Very special. Guys, you along with the rest of your board and everybody involved and the 1,000 volunteers plus the people of Salinas have a real treat that comes year to year to year. This year they kind of got it in a closer span.
They did.
But for the community, just you as you say, you guys give back. You guys are really doing all of this not only to put on a good show, but really to give back to other. What are some of the organizations that benefit from the air show?
You almost could name almost any organization here in Salinas, and they've probably gotten some sort of donation from the air show over the years. This is the 39th show, and the air show has donated over $8 million back to the community.
That's awesome.
And you really kind of got to think about that. 39 years and $8 million. I mean, it's unbelievable. So all of these charities that come in, some of them do work as far as volunteers. They'll bring a group of kids in to do parking or pick up trash or, run a concessions booth, whatever it might be.
Yep.
And they're raising money. We will pay them a stipend for their charity, and they raise money for their charities. And then also afterwards, we do, once all the bills are paid, making sure that, everything's taken care of. We do some pass-through. When we can, and that's really where a lot of that money had gone over the years is right through. Awesome. And that's a big thanks to the sponsors and the President's Club members. And it's pretty amazing what the Salinas Air Show has really, that model that we put together, the pass through from the President's Club. Yeah. There's an International Council of Air Shows that have classes on, they actually call it the Salinas model. And air shows from all over the country and some from the world come over and they listen to what the Salinas model had started back in 1981 and what it's become and how that passed through and the community stands behind this air show. It's a true showpiece.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize that they're going to the air show. They think that it's a some of our guests don't participate in it because they think, it's the same thing year after year, but they don't really know that the other end of it, what you're supporting, how good it is to support, and or buy a ticket.
Absolutely.
Everybody listening,
everybody go online, SalinasAirshow.com. Got to do the plug, right?
There we go.
But come and enjoy the show. And those proceeds are going right back into our community. Right. The dollars are not leaving. There's a ton of groups out there. Buy concessions because the more you buy from the concessions, the more those groups are making money. Right. So if you know somebody, you see a group that that you know and you like to support, go buy something from them. Go buy a hot dog, hamburger, piece of pizza, whatever their booth is selling. So that also provides them with more funds. So
wonderful event.
Yeah. Bring everybody you know.
Is there anything that I may have missed over our talk here in the last hour?
Well, I do want to actually bring up one of the other pieces of the community, because again, there's so many community involvement pieces that we do. One of the ones that really kind of stick out that recently we had done was for the Relay for Life. And we had commissioned a brand new mixer truck and painted it. Get this, it's not the Chapin blue. It is Susan G. Komen pink. What we ended up doing was we took it kind of in an in-house challenge, if you will. And there's so many people that are affected by cancer every year. And, and I know of hundreds of people alone affected. Some made it, some didn't. So really doing a tribute to cancer survivors, cancer fighters. We really want to do something cool and special. And so what we did, you're pulling up a couple of pictures here, is commission this bright pink concrete mixer.
Yeah.
And it's pretty special. So what we want to do is we actually have a goal to raise $1 million over the life of this truck by raising it a few different ways. On the front nose cone of the mixer, we're doing businesses. Mm-hmm. So on a yearly sponsorship, if you will, that money goes directly to the charity of their choice. Awesome. They can put their logo on the front of that mixer. It really kind of showcases their partnership in this drive to find the cure. We need to, as a community, find this cure for this terrible disease. Mm-hmm. And so really we want to get as many as we can on the front of that truck, and year after year keep raising money for various charities all the way around. It's not necessarily dedicated to one. It could be any of them, really any charity. And it's such a great piece for not only for the charity, but they get some recognition as well.
Right. And then they'll have their name brought up on the truck. Actually, I'm trying to look for a nice big image, but maybe we have one right here. There we go.
So this is right after we got the truck actually done with all the lettering, and so that you don't see any of the business logos on the front yet. But there are some on there. But the cool part is that we want to remember and honor those that are affected by cancer, and again, those who are fighting, those who lost the fight. And so one thing we wanted to do was memorialize everybody's names, those names that, again, either are affected of some sort. And so what we're doing is part of this fundraising process is that for anybody that wants to make a small donation of $100 or more, kind of a minimum there, we can memorialize anyone's name on the side of the truck for the lifetime of this mixer. And what we plan on doing is wrapping that entire drum with names. And they will live on there for the life of that mixer. And so we've gotten quite a few. Again, it's kind of a sad reality, but it is the reality. And again, it's about honoring those. So if anybody does have a loved one that they want to get their name on the truck and memorialize that forever, email me or contact us through
D3 at DonChapinCompany.com.
That's right. DonChapin.com.
At DonChapin.com.
Yeah, D3 at DonChapin.com. Email me and we'll make sure that happens, because this is a really unique piece. That
this picture shown here was at last year's Relay for Life, and you take the pink truck and you park it at various events, but in addition, this bad boy also gets to work. Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You'd think we'd keep it nice and pretty, but there is a lot of times we'll actually have it out on job sites, and it's actually requested.
Oh, nice.
A lot.
We like that.
There was a couple of jobs over in Monterey. They demanded that the pink truck be
cool.
on site, because they just love what it stands for, what the mission is, and it's just tremendous. So we've got it's so much pride in that truck. The drivers just absolutely love driving it. They get a lot of honks on the highway. They just absolutely just love it.
Like it. I love it.
Awesome.
And that's all the Don Chapin Company. That's everything that they have to offer. I mean, and more, and giving back to this community. It's incredible. And again, guys like me, myself, and I know those listening will really appreciate and admire it. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
D3, thank you so much for being here, being part of the show. Yeah, is there anything? I always have a hard time saying goodbye. Anybody that listens to it, there's 10 shows now. I can't ever say goodbye to my guests.
That's okay. You have so much fun in these
We
episodes.
do. I honestly, I love to talk. I think we get along really, really well.
Absolutely.
We could talk for hours. But there it is. The time for today has ended.
Thank you very much for having me on the program.
Again, and I'm honored. Until the next one, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and listen, we're gonna bring you back for a show for the next one. We're gonna talk about all the extra success that digital marketing has brought the Don Chapin.
I love it. And it's probably going to be like episode 1,000 by
no.
then. You're doing well.
We won't wait that long. We won't wait that long. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for today, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Until next week. Peace.